What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Continuing our Mayfly insect, we are moving on to an Emerger, and I freaking love this pattern. It's like my favorite. Oh, it's one of my favorite patterns out there. So this is a Firehole 315 size 16. I will only tie this pattern on this hook. It's just so ridiculous. Okay, this is some like pale yellow Antron. You see that? It's like pale yellow. This is going to be what's called a Hendrickson Emerger. Hendricksons are like one of the more popular mayflies in Maine, if not the most popular. And this is an Emerger. Basically what happened is I was fishing, and all of a sudden I looked down and there was like 100 mayflies at my feet trying to emerge. And there it is. And basically I scooped them up and took a bunch of pictures of them, and this fly is based off them. That's probably why it's so successful. So here I have like a copper, like a real copper, not like the fake copper color, but like a real copper color. And then I'm going to come in, grab some Pheasant Tail. Again, because this is an emerging, it's an emerging mayfly. So, we just went from the Pheasant Tail to a mayfly. Right now we're going, so there is some similarities, and this would be one of those. So I am still going to have a tail that's going to go right on top of my Antron. Come on, buddy. There we go. So I lock that in. Okay. I'm going to trim this away because it's being a bit difficult. Alright, and now I'm just going to work my way up. Catching all those fibers and all those wires and thread and everything. Okay. Now I'm going to take my Pheasant Tail. If you can, I'm not saying you have to, but if you can, you want to try and get like a reddish hue or a purplish reddish hue on your pheasant, because if you look at the Pheasant Tail, there are going to be some fibers that have some purplish reddish hue, and that is the one that you want. The brown is nice and everything, but if you can get some purplish reddish hue in there, that would be great. So if you can see, I mean, you can't, it's kind of hard for you to see, but there is some reddish hue in here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take my wire, again wrapping towards me now, coming towards me, which, whatever. Great. Fantastic. You want to leave yourself about an eye and a half. About an eye and a half of space. I'm going to trim this tail eventually, so don't worry about that. I mean, like you do it right now. You want it to just extend just past the tips of your Pheasant tail. Perfect. So you have now basically a two-tail. This is like a shuck. It's the beginning of a shuck. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come in right here. We're going to tie in a little bit of Antron and kind of work back to the body. And we are going to pull it forward and bubble it. You see that bubble? catch that bubble, and you should have this little bubble. That is really, really important. Basically, when I picked up all of them, they had this sort of structure that looked like this, and it was them coming out of their case. That's like the start of it. And I was so amazed. I was like, oh my god. And so this is essentially a new critter that's trying to pop out. And, you know, it worked really, really well. From here, I take... You can do two things. You can make a dubbing loop and dubbing loop this, or you can wrap this. And I've been a fan of wrapping it. So this is CDC. And this is like a light gray. You can, of course, use a dark gray as well, or a maroon or red. That would be even better. I don't have any of that with me, so. I also recommend using some hackle pliers for this because it's pretty brittle. So okay, so we start the wraps and sort of palmering our material backwards. And we should be getting right to the eye. Great news, we are. If these are touching wraps, that's great. If not, it's also not a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to cut the tag end of the CDC off. And what's crazy is I have not shown anyone this pattern since I discovered it. Because I only discovered it, this sort of look, last year. Okay, now I'm done, except I need to make it look pretty. That looks pretty good. And some of these fibers are really long. Look at that. Oh, it's a mess. Oh, it's so great. Some of these fibers are pretty long, and so I'll just kind of pluck some through. Just kind of go through and pluck out, or you can trim any of the fibers that are super, super long. And so what you're left with is this sort of mushy ball with a bunch of fibers. If you don't like how many fibers there are, some people want less, then you can strip half of the CDC off one side. You can strip half of it off one side. That will give you a sort of a sparser look. And, you know, this pattern, though, has done just, like, stupid good. I don't know why, but it's done stupid good for me. Probably because it looks like the real thing. When to use this? Again, May, June. That's it. Like, just May and June. For trout. I mean, in rivers, trout and salmon, just May, June. And, you know, when it's on, it's friggin' on. Like, on. But when it's not on, I don't know if I've ever caught a fish on it, you know. But just because of how on it was for a few times, it makes me want to always carry some of these. And so I hope you do too. So that's our Mayfly Emerger. Again, it's a pretty basic emerger with a bubble. You know, you can do a whole lot of different things to match a whole lot of different mayflies with this. So, you know, you don't have to stick to this, but this one has just worked particularly well for me. So, that's it. That's all I got to say about this one. We're going to move on to, what have we done? We've done a dry, I think. We've done a nymph. So I guess we're going to do, this is our merger, we're going to do sort of a cripple, because I think that's an important stage as well. And you frequently see it, and it's really important to match that hatch sometimes. So we'll move on to the cripple next and talk about it. Until then, Enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. And remember, if you're a subscriber and you also follow me on Instagram, then you can get 2 of each of the patterns in this entire series. So that's going to be like, oh, I don't know, 5, 4, 20, 40 flies, I guess, somewhere around there, somewhere around 40 flies, for free, and a free fly box. So, you know, pretty cool. Okay, that's all I got. Thanks for stopping by, hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.